Black Wall Street, the rise and destruction of America's Black Utopia. A forgotten utopia. Imagine a place in America where black families, barely one generation out of slavery, built something extraordinary, a thriving community, a self-sustaining economy, a place of dignity, wealth, and pride, in the face of a nation that told them they would always be second-class citizens. That place was Greenwood, a district in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but the world came to know it by another name, Black Wall Street. In the early 20th century, when segregation laws forced black Americans into the margins, Greenwood refused to be broken. Instead, its people created one of the most prosperous black communities in history. Banks, hotels, schools, theaters, newspapers, doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, families living in houses as fine as any white neighborhood in America. But in the spring of 1921, this utopia was burned to the ground. Not by natural disaster, not by economic collapse, but by hate. This is the story of how Black Wall Street rose and how it was destroyed in one of the darkest chapters in American history. The roots of Greenwood. To understand Greenwood, we must go back to the late 1800s. After the Civil War, millions of freed black men and women searched for places where they could live in safety and opportunity. Many fled the South, away from lynch mobs and Jim Crow laws, hoping to start fresh in the West. Oklahoma was one of those new frontiers. At the time, it was still largely unsettled land, once designated as Indian Territory. Black migrants came with dreams of farming, independence, and freedom. In Tulsa, a man named O.W. Gurley, a wealthy black landowner, bought 40 acres of land in 1906, but this wasn't just land. This was a vision. He had a dream of building a community where black people could thrive away from the oppression of white society. And that land became the heart of Greenwood. Soon, other black entrepreneurs followed. Hotels rose, grocery stores opened. Tailors, barbershops, doctors, teachers, and lawyers built their businesses. Segregation meant that black residents weren't welcome in white-owned establishments. So they built their own and made them better. By the 1910s, Greenwood was thriving. It wasn't just a neighborhood, it was a movement. The rise of Black Wall Street. By 1921, Greenwood was home to over 10,000 black residents. It had 2 newspapers, 30 grocery stores, 21 churches, and multiple schools. There were luxury businesses like the Stratford Hotel, one of the largest black-owned hotels in the nation, built by entrepreneur J.B. Stratford. There was the Dreamland Theater, where residents could watch the latest films. Doctors and lawyers had their offices right on Greenwood Avenue. Wealth circulated inside the community. Every dollar spent in Greenwood passed through at least 19 black-owned businesses before leaving the district. It was so successful that Booker T. Washington himself called it the Negro Wall Street of America. Families thrived. Children received good educations. Black professionals lived in 2-story brick houses, drove fine cars, and wore tailored suits. This was not the America the outside world expected black people to live in. And that success became a threat. Life in Greenwood. Picture Greenwood on a Saturday evening, the streets buzzing with people dressed in their finest. Women in elegant dresses, men in suits and hats. Jazz music spilling out of clubs. Shops and restaurants alive with conversation, the children playing, running past the smell of freshly baked bread from black-owned bakeries. Doctors treating patients in well-equipped offices, teachers guiding students with dreams of college. There was pride here, a sense of ownership. For once, black families didn't have to live under the shadow of white dependence. But that pride, that success, it stirred resentment. In Tulsa, many white residents looked across the railroad tracks at Greenwood and saw wealth they didn't believe black people deserved, and they were waiting for a reason to destroy it. The spark. That reason came on May 30, 1921, a 19-year-old black shoe shiner named Dick Rowland entered an elevator in the Drexel building downtown. Inside was Sarah Page, a 17-year-old white elevator operator. No one knows exactly what happened. Some said Rowland tripped and grabbed Page's arm. Others said they exchanged words. Page screamed. By the next day, the Tulsa Tribune printed an article claiming Rowland had assaulted her. The story spread like wildfire. White mobs gathered at the courthouse demanding Rowland's lynching. Black residents, knowing all too well how lynch mobs operated, armed themselves and went to protect him. A confrontation followed. A shot rang out, and chaos erupted. The massacre begins. What followed was not a riot. It was a massacre. White mobs flooded into Greenwood. They looted stores, burned homes, and shot residents in the streets. Black families fled in terror, carrying only what they could. Mothers clutching babies, men trying desperately to protect their homes. Airplanes, yes, airplanes, were used to drop firebombs on the community. It was one of the first times in American history that planes were used to attack U.S. citizens. By dawn on June 1st, Greenwood was in flames. Block after block, home after home, business after business, destruction of a dream. In just 24 hours, one of the wealthiest black communities in the world was gone. 500 homes were burned. 35 blocks of businesses destroyed. 300 people killed. Thousands left homeless. The Stratford Hotel, gone. The Dreamland Theater, gone. Families' life savings, gone. Survivors were rounded up and held in internment camps. Many were forced to carry special passes to leave. No one was punished. No one was held accountable. Instead, Greenwood's ashes were left as a silent scar on American soil. Silence and erasure after the massacre. Tulsa's white leaders worked to erase it from history. Insurance companies refused to pay claims, calling the destruction a riot rather than an attack. Schools never taught it. Newspapers buried it. Survivors were silenced by fear. For decades, the Tulsa Race Massacre was almost forgotten, but the survivors remembered. They carried the trauma, the pain, and the memory of what was lost. Rebuilding and legacy. Despite everything, Greenwood's residents showed resilience. Some rebuilt businesses. Families tried to restore what was taken, but it was never the same. The dream of Black Wall Street, the proof that black prosperity could flourish in America, had been deliberately crushed, and yet, its legacy lives on. Today, Greenwood is remembered not only as a tragedy, but as a testament to what Black Americans can achieve. Even in the harshest conditions, it is a warning about the cost of hate and a symbol of strength in the face of injustice. Why it matters today. The story of Black Wall Street is not just about the past. It is about America today. It forces us to ask, what happens when success is built by people society tries to hold down? What happens when prejudice meets prosperity? And most importantly, how do we make sure such a tragedy is never forgotten and never repeated? Because Greenwood's story is more than ashes. It is more than loss. It is proof of what black communities can build, and a reminder of what America tried to destroy. If this story moved you, don't let it end here. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more untold black legacies. May share this video because history buried this story once and we cannot let it be buried again.